Obi-Wan series. What was it like to first establish yourself in this iconic role and then to come back to it after a few years? Not that long. Don't make it sound like he's old. Watch yourself.
It was amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a funny story. Like the whole, you know, when people started talking to me about the prequels, that in London, I'd done a handful of work, but I'd done some right off the bat. I was so lucky, you know. I left drama school early to do a series called Lipstick on Your Collar, and with Dennis Potter, who was Britain's premier television writer. And it was an amazing experience. You know, I had a year in Scotland doing theatre arts course when I was 16 to 17. I was in drama school from 17 to 19, and then I got this 6-month education with a camera, in front of a camera, with Dennis Potter, which was an amazing experience. And then I did a play, and then I did Shallow Grave, which was an amazing, like, left a mark on British cinema, you know. And we were like, people were suddenly like, but I was so ready. I felt so ready, and I was always really. I don't know, arrogant might be the word you might want to use, but I always felt like I was just ready for it all, you know. And so when Shallow Grave came out, I was like, yeah, and I was really I loved working with Danny Boyle and Andrew MacDonald and John Hodge, the writer. And then, you know, I did a film with Peter Greenaway, which was an amazing artistic experience. I did a funny surf movie, and then I did Trainspotting. Changed my life, you know, and it was and is an amazing experience, and it's that way for many reasons. It's ultimately from Irvine Welsh's novel, Danny Boyle, John Hodge's adaptation of that novel, Danny Boyle's excellence, the cast he put together, the music, and also just the moment of in time. It was perfect. And then I made a few other things, and then. Then I made Emma straight after Trainspotting. I went from Trainspotting to playing a foppish character on a horse in Emma. Not my finest.
Only you could do that. Only you.
I just thought it was interesting. It was interesting because it was a mistake in a way, because I chose it because I thought I should be seen to be doing this instead of going, I've got to do this, you know. So it was a good lesson for me. And it's fine. The film is great.
Yes, it's a great film.
Just like for me, it was a lesson, and anyway. So then people started talking about, you know, and I was knocking about with Jude Law and Johnny Lee Miller and Sean Pertwee, and we felt like, you know, Oasis they're playing here tomorrow, aren't they?
That's right.
Oasis, Blur, Pulp. I mean, it was a mad time in Britain, you know, and we were like. Felt like we were the heart of the movie part of it, so we were flying quite high. And then there was this talk of Star Wars coming back, and I had Star Wars on VHS, The New Hope, and I played it until there was nothing left. It was just colours like moving across the screen. But me and my brother knew every line. It was the first bit of movie I went to see my Uncle Dennis in. That's right. In the cinema. Like, I was a fan. Like, it meant, you know, I'm 54, and so I was born in 71, and when it came out, I was 5 or 6. So I was perfect for. I mean, it was made for me, and my brother, right? And so it meant a great deal to me. So when there was talk of the prequels, you've got to remember, there hadn't been a Star Wars film for many years.
Right.
And there was we didn't imagine it was, and I felt like I was this Trainspotting guy over here doing urban, grungy. That's who I felt I was, and I wanted to carry on working with Danny Boyle.
Right.
I just wanted to be his actor, and so I wasn't 100% sure that it was right for me until it started to happen.
Okay.
And I did an audition with hundreds of other actors in Britain. And then I was asked to come back to do another one, and I did a second one, and then as I was getting called back for another third one, and I started to think, you know, maybe
might
they might, you know, there was a possibility of me actually getting the role. Did it suddenly click into my mind that and I asked everyone, I asked my uncle, I asked Danny Boyle, I asked lots of people I trusted and admired about advice about it, because I thought, maybe I was scared of it because it's so huge, you know. And then we made the film, and it was an odd experience. It was amazing to make.
Okay.
I loved making it. It was so cool to work with George Lucas. It was so cool. With Liam and Natalie and Ahmed Best, and it was an amazing experience, right? I loved it. We went to Tunisia. We shot in the desert there. It was fantastic. Then when it came out, it was hard. It was a hard experience because it got knocked hard, you know. The critics I think they were ready to pounce on it, and they did. And that was hard for me. I hadn't had that experience yet.
The critics were wrong.
So, this is a very lengthy answer, isn't it?
No, I love this
What a long-winded answer to their question. But then we did the first one in Britain. We went to Australia to make episode 2 and episode 3. And that's where I met Hayden for the first time. My brother from another mother. And we had an amazing time always making them, although they were hard, or a lot of blue screen, green screen. But by the end, the third one was like, I think George had made a bet with Spielberg or something about, like, I'm gonna create every background for every shot with ILM, you know. We're like, give us a set, give us something. So they were hard to do, but we did have a great time making them. And then I felt like, you know, I've always been, I'm an actor. I'm not I'm an actor. You know, I've trained to do a job, and I do it, and I love it. My job is also my passion, which I know I'm very, very fortunate.
Absolutely.
In that respect. I don't take that for granted. But I always believed in acting in terms of going from one role to another, and every role you go to is a completely new experience. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't a Star Wars actor. I just went off and I started doing all my, every film is like a stepping stone in my career. Right. And I was happy to have been in the Star Wars movies, and it wasn't until I suppose it was social media to an extent when that started, although I don't like it. But when that started, I did that for a little while, and I could suddenly hear your voices a little bit for the first time. I'd been like oblivious, like la la la, just doing all my work, and but I didn't think about it very much. It was something I'd done, and something but I didn't give much thought to it until then. And then I started realizing that you were all there. You had a different relationship with the films than that I thought you had. And well, that's nice. Thank you. And then when I started thinking about doing the series, and I ultimately went to Disney in the end. I said, I think you should get me in, because every interview I did for years ended with, would you do a sequel to Trainspotting, and would you play Obi-Wan Kenobi again? Highbrow, long piece interviews on the telly, everywhere I was, I started going, God, people really want me to do this again.
Absolutely.
And I kept saying, yeah. I thought, by this point, I started feeling like, yeah, I would do that again. I would do it. I still hadn't lost the love I'd had from the original trilogy. I still hadn't lost my love for Alec Guinness, and I was in a fortunate position where I never met the man, but I've read all his books, and I have a unique relationship with him in that I always try and, I've got this like thread between the two of us.
Right.
And I think it's interesting. We're not dissimilar actors,
right.
In that he wasn't like a classic leading man. He didn't play action leading roles and stuff, and sort of nor do I. I think we're similar actors in the way, if that's not too arrogant to say.
Not at all.
But I've got this thread between us, because I'm always trying to feel like him when I'm playing this role.
That's awesome.
And I went to Disney. I said, look, I just want you to. It's just getting embarrassing because every time it must sound like I'm sort of toting for work, you know.
Can I?
Yes, please. Disney. Now I am to do season 2, but anyway.
Obi-Wan another. Let's go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know where they are or what they're. I don't know. I know you all think I do, but I don't. I don't know what their plans are. I know they're making Ahsoka now because my wife gets up and goes to work every day.